Agriculture, the vehicle for agro-industrialization and wealth creation. The goal of the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries is to transform the agriculture sector into a competitive, profitable and sustainable sector. The mission of the ministry is transforming the sector from subsistence farming to commercial agriculture. The Ministry of Agriculture is one of the government departments at the forefront of transformation of the country into a middle-income nation. Why is the agriculture sector crucial? Agriculture supports the livelihoods of 64% of Ugandans and 72% of the youth, constituting over 5 million households. Agriculture contributes a significant 22% of the national gross domestic product and 45% of Uganda's exports. Over the last 5 years, the agriculture sector has had a steady growth from 2.7% in 2016-2017 to 4.4% in 2017-2018 and 5.3% in 2018-2019. This growth is partly attributed to government intervention through extension services and good weather, resulting in increased production of cash crops, food crops and livestock. In 2019, agriculture exports earned Uganda $1,385,770,000 in revenue, a significant improvement from $1,122,200,000 that was earned in 2015. Coffee production increased from 3.6 million 60 kilogram bags in 2015 to 7 million 60 kilogram bags in 2019. Fish catches increased from 391,000 metric tons to 566,000 metric tons in 2019 as a result of government enforcement measures on the lake. Currently, agri-based products account for roughly 45% of Uganda's industrial exports.
It's one of the sectors that are central in the struggle to get our country from where it is to middle-income status.
The blueprint for this was the just concluded Agriculture Sector Strategic Plan, ASSP2. It is sought to increase production and productivity of agriculture commodities and enterprises, increased access to critical farm inputs, improved access to markets and value addition and quality of agriculture commodities, and better agriculture services, institutions and enabling environment. Over the last 5 years, ASSP2 sought to reform and strengthen agriculture service institutions such as research, extension and regulatory bodies. No doubt, a lot of progress has been made by the Ministry of Agriculture in trying to achieve the objectives of the strategic plan in partnership with development partners and the active engagement of the private sector, especially in development of agriculture value chains. Several programs and projects have been rolled out of the last 5 years to increase production, productivity and the marketability of key agriculture commodities. The Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries focused on increasing production of 12 priority commodities, namely bananas, beans, maize, rice, cassava, tea, coffee, fruits and vegetables, dairy, fish and livestock for meat production. It also singled out 4 strategic commodities, namely cocoa, cotton, oilseeds and oil palm for attention. In the last 5 years, the ministry prioritized its attention on increasing production and marketability of maize, beans, rice, cassava and coffee spread out across the country with varying degrees of success. Progress has been registered in mobilizing the farmers into groups so as to provide them training in better agronomical practices, enterprise and management. These groups have also been supplied with improved planting materials as well as certified inputs and plant protection materials. Results in improved harvests and quality of produce are already starting to manifest. The ministry has ensured that research and development programs lead to appropriate new agriculture technologies, improved plant varieties, inputs and methods. Besides being better yielding, these planting materials also have higher nutritional value in order to address the urgent issue of food security. Among the milestones in the recent past are crop varieties that are rich in zinc and iron.
So we can feed this country, but with better nutritious foods. So instead of just eating the sweet potatoes and your stomach is as big, you are now eating just a piece and you get all of the nutrients that you need for your body.
In 2016, we released 5. 3 of them are short varieties. We call them bush varieties. They are narrow bean 1, narrow bean 2, and narrow bean 3. Then 2 of them are climbing beans.
Additionally, 5 early maturing varieties of rice have been developed and rolled out to farmers. In the coffee subsector, 3 high-yielding and wilt-resistant coffee varieties have been developed and distributed to farmers. Farmer Sero Diogratius in Bukulula sub-county in Kalungu district is a beneficiary that has seen a huge increase in yields on his 4-acre coffee farm. Sero Diogratius is a good example of farmers that have been trained in businesses like methods of crop production which have led to bigger harvest and enhanced incomes. Increasingly, farmers are learning that government intervention and help isn't a free gift. Rather, it is the enabler for them to transform from subsistence to commercial farming and production. Farmers have been introduced to the e-voucher platform. Through it, farmers are linked to input suppliers. They can also get information on the rains and get assisted by extension workers readily.
The project trains the farmers to understand some of these dynamics, to appreciate the changes in technology, that it is for your own benefit. You are going to use that phone to even know the weather patterns. You are going to use that phone to get messages from your extension, not only inputs.
Slowly but surely, the e-voucher is one of the methods helping to eradicate the perennial problem of counterfeits that cost farmers dearly.
The whole concept is let the farmer, through the e-voucher system, have timely access to high-quality inputs. Then he does his planting at the right time. He's given the right advice on what to do. And without doubt, the production and productivity is going to increase.
The livestock, beef and milk sectors have also witnessed a concerted effort to bring up production and productivity.
First, the milestone has been in improving the breeds of our livestock, particularly the dairy cattle. And the biggest milestone we have made is that we have moved from importing dairy products from Europe and neighboring Kenya to exporters of dairy products, and we have penetrated the first world market. We export to casein to US. We export powdered milk to Middle East.
There are several programs underway in the cattle corridor in central and southwestern Uganda, as well as in the eastern cattle corridors of the Karamoja sub-region and surrounding areas.
We've achieved critical milestones now, for example, in production of meat and dairy as our major strategic enterprises where we are strategically investing. Farmers have shown keen interest in increasing their involvement in keeping livestock and basically focusing on production per unit area vis-a-vis the numbers.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Industry and Fisheries is also introducing and supporting farmers to venture into feedlots. Here, improved pastures are produced intensively and fed to animals, maximizing small spaces on which the animals are kept. For instance, Kande Livestock Farm has set up feedlot facilities with the potential to handle and fatten 300 bulls for beef production on just 15 acres of land. A key challenge that is also being addressed is water supplies for farmers during the lean, dry months. Across the country, numerous dams and valley tanks have been constructed to ensure sufficient water availability for livestock.
This one is 40 cubic meters. That's about 4 million liters of water, and it is meant to serve the cattle population in the dry season. The water will collect here. It will be pumped out by solar to water traps downstream so that the animals do not come near the tank and spoil it.
In the process, farmers are slowly becoming more productive on small spaces thanks to government-led interventions. A critical area that has been enhanced are the efforts to improve the quality of animal breeds available to farmers.
Production came from 30,000 liters per day. We are now talking of 2.5 billion liters annually.
The bull-stud farm run by Maif in Entebbe is the heart of the efforts to improve the national herd. Bulls with superior genetics have been imported for this purpose.
A lot is being done in, under the National Agricultural Genetic Resource Center and Data Bank, which you know is our agency that is dealing with that. So there we are trying to bring in, of course, new technologies to give people the genetics they want, either through AI, embryo transfer. We already have the regional gene bank. It is located within here in Uganda, here in Entebbe. So, and many farmers are already doing their own breeding.
Farmers access the semen through rural community-based artificial insemination programs across the country. Serious research is also ongoing to develop affordable animal health drugs for the market and ones that will address the problem of drug resistance in ticks and other diseases.
We have now gone through a stage where we didn't know what the problem was. Now we know the problem. We know why the ticks developed resistance against the acaricides that we have in the market. We know the reason. We have now moved to a stage where our scientists are close to finding certain important vaccines.
In the fisheries subsector, government has undertaken a number of successful steps to improve the quantity and quality of fish on the market and for export. Key among these was enforcement of stringent fishing measures.
When we go there, we allow them to ask questions. We talk to them, we sensitize them, we show the bad gears, we show the good gears. They share with us how they are being displaced and what they want government to do.
We have the Nile perch, that is a major fish species for export in the international markets, where we used to realize declining fish stocks, but last year we were able to register an increase in fish stocks, and this also resulted into an increase in the catches. We were able to catch around 600,000 metric tons.
Alongside this is the concerted effort to promote fish farming or aquaculture. Aquaculture complements the fish available in the lakes with farmed fish. A key area that is also being addressed is the quality of fish fingerlings on the market. The ministry designated Kajansi for research and development in aquaculture. Strides have been undertaken to improve locally available fish feeds. A number of private sector players are now heavily involved in the production of quality fish feeds for the market. The commercialization of agriculture requires efficient extension services to support the farmers. Government procured and distributed vehicles to all district extension staff, as well as motorcycles to facilitate extension workers in the sub-counties. It has further recruited more extension workers and staff, attaining 3,819 out of a target of 5,630. A crucial ingredient of farming with predictable outcomes all year round is the provision of water to support farming activities. 5 irrigation schemes in the country are in various stages of completion or completed, with farmers now benefiting from them. They are the 880-hectare Nyenge in Queen District, the 500-hectare Tochi in Oyam, the 480-hectare Mbuku 2 in Kasese, the 1,178-hectare Doho 2 in Butaleja, and the 1,000-hectare Wadelai in Pakwach and Nebi districts. The 5 schemes are set to enhance rice, fish farming, fruits and vegetables all year round. In Doho Rice Scheme in Butaleja, farmers are now seeing yields of between 1,000 to 1,500 kilos an acre, where they were used to harvest a paltry 600 kilos on average.
90–80% of the farmers now access water. We have roads in place. We have check gates that we used to control, that now we are using to control water. Farmers are producing good yields and the output is now good.
Besides this are several small and micro irrigation projects across the country which are enabling farmers to carry out their farming enterprises all year round and not to depend solely on rain-fed agriculture. Individual farmers in areas which haven't benefited from the big schemes are also being facilitated to acquire solar irrigation equipment at a subsidized rate.
And we are working closely with all departments and directorates in the private sector.
Using recently acquired heavy earth-moving equipment, the Ministry of Agriculture has constructed 154 valley tanks in 2019 with a total capacity of over 2.3 million cubic meters of water. The country now has 456 valley tanks with a total capacity of 6.8 million cubic meters of water. By availing this critical infrastructure, farmers irrigating their land, aquaculture and livestock accessing water increased from 8% in 2018 to 22.4% by December 2019. Government-procured tractors and equipment are helping farmers across the country to open large tracts of land and to expedite in the tilling. 4 regional mechanization centers have been completed or are in nearing completion in Buama, in Piji, Agwata in Dokolo, and in Kiriandongo and Mbale to look after the equipment or to provide the service.
There is some equipment that is going to be bought as common good equipment. Then there are those for the private sector where they can hire. We don't want to compete with the private sector.
The mechanization centers are also available to large-scale commercial farmers that wish to open their land or construct valley tanks and dams.
Everyone will access this. This is a directive by His Excellency the President that we must help farmers to increase production and productivity.
Ultimately, the goal of the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries is the transformation of agriculture into commercial farming. Across the agriculture sector, important value chains have emerged. They are successfully being developed and adopted by stakeholders and are largely private sector led. These include ensuring quality harvest right from the farmer level. It also means substantial reduction in post-harvest losses so that the farmers earn the utmost from their sweat. As this farmer group in Bulambuli in eastern Uganda demonstrates, one of the ways is to use appropriate threshing equipment. The other is to ensure proper drying of cereals like maize, beans, beans, soya to avoid waste through rotting or accumulation of fungus. Increased agro-processing is another way farmers are earning more value from their sweat. Numerous programs and projects are under implementation by government which have supported farmers in this endeavor. Farmers have been supported to add value to their crop, which often went to waste during times of plenty. Rather than just harvest and sell their matoke, farmers are diversifying into vital value chains that are now earning them extra income.
Through this project, we have been able to demonstrate with farmers that you can transform the value of banana. You can earn more money from bananas through processing, through adding value.
These new value chains include wine, confectionaries, chips and flour, among others. In financial year 2019-2020, 9 processing facilities have been fully set up or supported by government to upgrade. For instance, bananas are now processed into wine capable of competing in national and international markets.
What the project has basically done was to improve as a processor, one, processing efficiency, certification, and then processing capacity.
Also available are 4 banana solar drying facilities and a banana flour plant in Isingiro.
Our products have now been certified, and 2, our products have got a big market because what Ministry of Agriculture has done in improving this facility up to the standards it is in now.
200 farmers have also been helped to set up biodigesters. Previously, banana fiber was a waste to be thrown away. Farmers are now being encouraged to semi-process it into fiber for a lucrative crafts market. Other activities include banana tissue culture for the production of planting materials that are suitable for prevailing climate conditions. Certainly, the project has provided alternative sources of income for the banana farmers along the value chain that was not there before. In the fruit-growing regions, government has built modern fruit juice processing factories. These are set to provide fruit farmers with a secure and reliable market for their produce, hence more assured and reliable incomes from their sweat. In the 55 districts where farmers are being supported to improve their production and productivity, as well as marketability of their produce, government has helped to set up agro-processing and bulk storage facilities. In tandem with this, 6 maize mills and 4 rice have been set up. For example, Busoa Traders and Farmers Cooperative Society has gone beyond just milling and grading rice. It now packs the commodity in branded packages. The branded packages greatly help in brand recognition and an assured market. Similarly, in the Rakai cluster, several farmer groups have been facilitated to construct bulking stores for maize and coffee. In the livestock subsector, government is ensuring that handling of animals before marketing and slaughter is of the highest standards and quality. In the cattle corridors of the country, a concerted effort is underway to prepare for the transformation of traditional pastoralist cattle keeping practices into a modern and vibrant livestock industry. Minister of State Bright Ramirama explains what has been done so far.
As you know, one of the greatest challenges has been to trade in animal products, and the infrastructure we have put in the east, especially Karamoja and the Teso region, is going to help us to control disease. It's also going to help us to make sure that we access lucrative markets in the Middle East.
For instance, in the Karamoja sub-region and the 5 surrounding districts of Amuria, Bukedia, Katakwi, Kumi and Queen, 12 modern cattle markets have been completed. 12 cattle holding facilities have also been completed. Here, animals can be quickly screened for diseases, quarantined for 14 days and fattened up before they are released into the market for sale or slaughter. The idea is to have clean and safe beef, a requirement that is essential if Uganda is to venture into serious beef export. 12 modern slaughter sheds for the production of clean and hygienically safe meat have also been completed and are due for commissioning.
The animals enter through here. They are slaughtered from this point, halal slaughter of course, and then they are hanged by this pulley. This pulley hangs the animals so that they are skinned off the ground to make sure that the meat is clean. The dung and blood goes through this channel. You can see it is an easy clean surface, and the animal is moved as the slaughter process goes on. The skin is removed, the offals are removed, and the offals are cleaned on these cleaning platforms provided with water and then taken for marketing. By the time the animal reaches this part of the slaughterhouse, it is ready to be split into quarters. And at this point, the veterinary inspector comes and inspects the meat. And the veterinary inspector is provided with an office where he keeps his tools, and the animals are then eventually taken out for marketing through this gate.
A multi-pronged approach is helping the development of a modern beef industry for local consumption and export. Both public and private sector players are heavily involved or envisaged to play a key part in its development.
We are basically focusing on women and youth to build their capacity in how they can produce, in how they can make meat which is safe.
Hundreds of youth are being trained in aspects of safe and hygienic handling of beef and its products. They are also trained in the production of various beef products.
URI is offering training in meat processing to come up with different meat products like burgers, sausages, ham and others. And also, we are also not only looking at the products, the meat product, but we're also looking at the byproducts of meat. And we're also adding value to the horns and bones to produce very beautiful articles.
The training involves all stakeholders in the beef value chain.
I'm able to learn more techniques on how to deal with our products, how to make it better. For instance, the different drying techniques that we've been able to learn with my colleagues.
I am very confident that by the end of this training, I'll be able to put out a product of my own under the brand of First Class Cuts Butcher in Chanja.
In the last 5 years, the fisheries sector has rebounded due to curbs on illegal fishing and better fishing methods. Production grew by 24%, while exports have gone up by 30%. 4 previously closed fish processing plants are now in production, with 2 or more also set to reopen due to an increase in the quality and quantity of fish in Lake Victoria.
We had 6 fish processing factories operating. We've been able to move to 12 processing plants.
Besides processing fish for export, several groups and individuals are involved in value addition of fish for local consumption. For instance, Chiindi Woman Fish Processing Association is cleaning, processing and packaging silver fish for the local market. These women have addressed the perennial problem in silver fish on the market, contamination with gritty sand and other impurities.
We make snacks. We do hot smoked silver fish. However small it is, we do hot smoking. Meaning we are by doing that, we are targeting the consumers who don't like oils. We make samosas as you saw them. We make bagia, those hard knocks out of it. And we make fish paste We are saying instead of applying butter, they should apply the fish paste with silverfish, and it's so nice and wonderful.
It is now increasingly commonplace to see fish farming in ponds or cages along lake shores. Aquaculture is seriously backed by ongoing research on which fish breeds are suitable for fish farming. This research also looks into the best practices. Linked with the sector is agro-processing, specifically targeted at supplying fish feed to farmers practicing aquaculture. These are just some examples of the great strides being undertaken to transform the practices of small farmers from subsistence farming into modern technology and knowledge-supported commercial enterprises. There are many more projects and programs under implementation which demonstrate that farmers can shift from subsistence to commercial farming. These examples are demonstrating how research and development is critical if production and productivity are to improve. The mantra for ensuring food security is to see to it that thousands of tons of quick maturing seed varieties and planting materials are availed to farmers across the country in order to enhance production and productivity. It is also to ensure that superior breeding stock are availed to farmers. While the government has done a lot to improve agriculture all round, it also has a specific strategy to increase the production of strategic commodities. For instance, the ministry has seen a massive rise in coffee production. Results are starting to manifest with increased coffee hulling, roasting and grading of coffee on the market. Locally, a coffee consumption culture is emerging, which is reflected in the increased number of coffee shops on the market. There are also efforts to boost tea production and processing for export, with investment of new seeds and processing machinery for the industry. Palm oil production is also being steadily promoted in order to reduce imports. Indeed, the efforts by the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries to transform and modernize the sector are going a long way in improving farm productivity and production in Uganda. In the coming few years, interventions are going to be intensified across the value chain. There will also be increased processing and marketing, with the main focus on promoting agro-industrialization as the new mantra.
In this next 5 years, we are not going to look at only market-oriented, but what makes industrial sense. We produce for value addition and for industry.
We want to build a self-sustaining, integrated economy, where most of the agricultural products have to feed into the industrial industry and the processing.
In the rural areas, agro-processing facilities are increasing, thus contributing significantly to value chains and rural incomes and employment. The improved production capacities were partly responsible for cushioning and mitigating the impact faced by families at the height of the COVID-19 lockdown at the beginning of 2020. Early in the year, the country experienced a locust invasion that threatened severe famine consequences if it were not contained. Fortunately, the Ministry of Agriculture was prepared and quickly contained the situation before it got out of hand.
This fight is not an easy fight, especially our ground troops, commanded by General Kakuma, for the good job that they are doing. And I think we are optimistic that with all this support, we shall handle the problem.
But amidst these achievements and progress, there have been challenges. Not least is the huge disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Added to this is the slow uptake of new improved technologies, methods and practices that could rapidly expand production and productivity, as well as increased marketability of farm commodities. The other is weak extension services that need to be strengthened further. Equally crucial is the lack of financing, lack of sufficient agricultural human resource and capacity within the private sector. Besides this, agriculture infrastructure like dams, irrigation equipment and agro-processing equipment isn't cheap and is quite costly for the average subsistence farmer in Uganda to easily acquire. There are also challenges like climate change and new unforeseen ones like desert locusts, which invaded the country at the start of 2020. The country has also witnessed unprecedented rains that have contributed to rising water levels. These in turn submerged facilities at fishing landing sites to support the fisheries sector. The Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries has also faced underfunding issues to implement critical programs. The NRM government will have to keep itself alive to these new realities, besides having to deal with the perennial gaps in the agriculture sector. Indeed, the government led by President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is alive to unforeseen challenges like COVID-19, and rather than lament, has seen them as a great opportunity to push the country forward with the agriculture sector at the forefront. The government has gone further to buttress these plans with new priorities emphasized by the president in what he has termed as the real economy that will catapult Uganda from a subsistence economy to a middle-income country. The key objectives of the agriculture sector will focus on increased sustainable production and productivity of priority crops identified by the government. The other is to strengthen integration between agricultural production systems with the industry, in the process creating the synergies to attract private sector players. The commodities that have been identified for attention are maize, coffee, dairy, meat, fish, tea, cotton, bananas, cassava and beans. Others are sugar, cocoa, vegetable oil seeds, fruits and vegetables, Irish potatoes, sweet potatoes, millet, macadamia nuts and cashew nuts. Some of the priority commodities have witnessed significant increased production and productivity. For example, production of maize has been doubled within a short time. Production hit 5 million metric tons and is expected to hit 6 million tons in 2020. These commodities already contribute a great deal as key raw materials for Uganda's industrial development and production. In the coming few years, interventions are going to be intensified across the value chain. There will also be increased processing and marketing, with the main focus on promoting agro-industrialization as the new mantra. Challenges and shortcomings notwithstanding, the interventions implemented in the last 5 years have gone some way in setting the pace for the transformation of the agriculture sector. Uganda, which was once a net import of processed foods, is now a big player in the regional markets. The production of key commodities has increased substantially during the implementation of ASSP 2. For instance, the production of coffee rose by 23.4% in 2018-2019. It also meant a 20% rise in export revenues from $415.13 million to $496.14 million in 2019-2020. The export of fish and its products have grown from $161.9 million in 2015 to $226.77 million. The export of milk and its products grew from a paltry $50 million, more than tripled, to $205 million. Indeed, processed milk has become a major export commodity and has cast Uganda as a dominant player in the region, with sights set on export markets in North Africa and beyond. These figures attest to how agriculture can play a very significant role in the transformation, modernization, and industrialization of Uganda. There is no doubt that the sky is indeed the limit. With the foundations during implementation of the Agriculture Sector Strategic Plan 2, Uganda is poised to become the food basket for the region, if not for Africa.
As Uganda, we have a very high competitive advantage in that we can produce most of the products that are needed on the world market. But the challenge still is we can't compete because traceability is a challenge. So we are registering farmers in order to address the issue of traceability, to know who planted what or who produced what, when it was produced, and where. This is going to be a key player in getting a high price for the products.
And if the plans for the real economy are taken into account, Uganda should definitely become a leading agriculture producer and manufacturing country in the not so distant future.